It is episode 93 of Working Class on Deercast. Thank you for joining us here on Deercast or Spotify, wherever you listen, but go to Deercast and listen, support us there. This one is recorded fully dark web version. And that's a bummer because we really strive on recording most episodes in studio, dark web if we have to. And this is one of those weird cases where my kids were sick with some contagious stuff, and Eric just had a baby, and we didn't want all that to happen. And we're doing it. Doug's in here. What's up, Dougie?
I'm sick from a concert out in the rain.
Oh, did you have like a romantic time at like Limp Bizkit or something?
It was that Hardy, dude. Come on.
Okay. And Mr. Lee, the cult leader, is in the house.
What's up, everybody?
So it's already a challenge because Doug is kind of quiet and Lee's very loud, and I have one volume gain button for the rest. Actually, I'm going to double back up record here.
So do I got to talk louder, or does he got to talk, not as loud?
You need to talk a little louder, I think. But here, episode 93, Working Class on Deercast. We're going into this without an idea what we're going to talk about, but there's some exciting stuff coming in as hunting season is on its way very quickly. Just over a month away. If that doesn't build your anxiety at home or at work, wherever you are while listening or watching this episode. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scale everyone's anxious level coming in as of right now to hunting season. And we're going to start with Doug. I'll scale 1 to 10. How anxious are you in good or bad way for hunting season? Because you know what I'm talking about.
I'm probably an 8 in a bad way.
8 in a bad way. Yep. I'm probably with you, buddy.
I don't know. We've been so busy. I just don't have much ready. I should be way more prepared, but this happens every year. So we'll figure it out.
You've been here before.
We do this every year. I think every guy can relate to that, right?
I think so. Where are you at, Lee?
I'm honestly on the other end of the scale. I'm at like a 3. If I had to say it. Because I don't know, man. After the season I had last year, I did all that work with those letters and all that and got a couple new permission properties. And I've really started putting my cameras out, and I've got some good deer on camera. So I'm like, I feel good coming into the season. That's probably going to burn me in the long run. But no, I feel pretty good, honestly. I've gotten all my fall food plots in. I did a grain plot for the first time, like a corn grain plot for the first time this year, and that's taken off well. And that was like with minimal work, honestly, just tilled the ground and broadcasted corn, and it actually worked, which never would have expected. But no, I'm feeling pretty good, honestly, and that's probably going to come back and smack me, but because I've got pretty high hopes going into the season with one specific buck. But I'm going to probably get too cocky and it's going to slam me in the dirt. But
well, I don't know about that. I'm pretty anxious. I'm at a 7 or an 8, probably with Doug in a bad way. But it's like one of those weird scenarios where you think the more you do hunting stuff for a job, you would think the more free time you would have, which, I do have. I can make time more than I did otherwise, but you just get caught up in other obligations, or you get caught focused on other stuff. Like as far as like land stuff, I feel pretty good. My plots are in. I feel great about that. There's some stand adjustments I want to make. I'm waiting on some tree stands to get in the mail.
And it not to be raining.
Doug, Lee and I went to go hang a stand and a set, and we did our annual. It's our new tradition, scrape day. Where we go hang mock scrapes with dad shoes on. I need to get a pair, but it started downpouring us on the other day. So the stand sitting at the base of the tree, I got to go back and hang it. I got a great spot in mind. But I got some stand changes that I want to do, some updates, some new ones I want to hang still. And I plan on getting that done the next 2 weeks. And then next thing on the list, and in conjunction with that, all the way to season, is shooting my bow like I'm training for a fight. Because if I have to be completely honest, I have not shot my bow like I have wanted to. I did before bear season early, killed a bear, and I'm waiting for my new bow to come in, which should be like any week. But I set my older bow my ritual from 2018. So I will be doing some shooting, but I'm going to start getting to the point where I always say that, like, I'm shooting like I'm training for a fight. Like every day you're shooting with the mindset of, like, you'd hit a heavy bag, like you're hitting somebody in the mouth, like you're shooting shots like you're double lunging deer.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I got a question for you, Curt. Are you at the point? I'm at the point right now where I always get before season. Are you at the point now where you're like, you find yourself daydreaming of like sitting in a tree stand?
for sure. But you know where I think too, though, this year, I feel like I have done that all summer. Like I feel like more than I ever have been. And I try not to wish the summer away, because like you have to like almost enjoy the time when it's not hunting season, because we work so hard when it is hunting season that, like, it's kind of nice to just enjoy your day to day without being forced to do things. Does that make sense? Not forced.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure. Yeah.
Like when there's a cold front, you're dropping everything and you're going hunting. Like no matter what, you're going when the time is right. If it's a cooler day and it's August, you're like, yeah, nice day to just do not hang outside, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So I need to.
I was talking to one of my.
I have to learn to enjoy that, but go ahead.
I was talking to one of my buddies today about, like, he's a big duck hunter, has really good deer ground, but doesn't really deer hunt much, and just loves to duck hunt. And we were like arguing back and forth about, like, oh, duck hunting's better, deer hunting's better. And I was just sitting there, and I was just, as I was explaining it to him, I just got those like chills, and like in my mind, I was like, oh, just sitting there with that cold October wind coming in, and, oh, it just got me all sorts of amped up.
I do love it. I mean, God, it's just so good. Like, don't compare it to waterfowl hunting. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, don't have that.
No,
don't have that
absolutely
discussion.
Yeah.
No,
I think
and you can't even explain this to anybody.
Oh, you can't unless you know. What were you saying, Doug?
I said, like, those, like, duck hunters and deer hunters will never find a common ground on that. Because, like, you know, we get a cold front, you know, we're ready to go. I mean, they're just out there to duck hunt anyways, but.
Yeah, and I don't mean to hate on them, but deer hunting just for sure better.
Yeah, it's like,
absolutely.
You know,
my buddy's argument was he has ADHD too bad.
Dude, you know, I get that, but you know, I think there's a way to cope with, like, if you have that type of ADHD, I think you can do it in deer hunting, but like you just have to find your groove. You have to find your way where you're going to see the most animals, right? Like, you know, a lot of times when you're hunting like a specific deer, you sit in spots where you're not going to see a ton of animals. You're going to see one deer. Not always, you know, sometimes that move makes you see a lot of deer, but I don't know, you know, I don't know, whatever. But I'm not worried about the waterfowl hunter deer hunting. Like, all right, more for me. I'll go hunting, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hunting. But dude, more this year than ever have I been so amped up about deer season way prematurely. Like, and I know everyone's like, you know, the tough guy on the internet's going to comment when we cut a clip from this and go, deer season never ends for me. It's like, all right, dude, you're so cool. But it's hard to explain because I've just been twice as amped as I normally am. I'm always excited, but I just like have been so whitetail brained since bear season and even before that I don't know what is, like, I didn't know I could get more into it.
Yeah, it's almost harder when you go on trips like out of state, and, you know, and have success and stuff, and then you come back and you're just ready to keep going, you know, like ride that high. But
that's probably what it is. I never thought of it that way, Doug. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I mean, in Wyoming, I'm seeing elk and, you know, moose and bear, and you come back and now I got 2 months to wait before I can even hunt again.
Yeah, or more.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah, because June, July, August, September, October, way more, you know. But it's we're to the point now where like things are getting serious, you know, like if you don't have your fall food plots in, you better be planning on it the next couple of weeks fast. If any stand changes need to happen before that median line in September, like you need to start getting that shit ready. We need to start shooting our bows like every day. We need to sling arrows. Any changes you're making, start tweaking with them now. Settle on what you want to do. Even if you're driving to work, mentally visualize the process of shooting a deer, a doe, a buck, or whatever. Mentally visualize where you want to put the stand that you need to hang on Saturday and how it's going to work and how a deer is going to use it. What wind would you hunt it? Visualizing and like thinking about things it really weighs in more than I think people give it credit for. Like sitting there on your lunch break and staring at maps going, all right, if I put a stand in that tree that I know about right here, what winds is that stand going to work?
Yeah, as long as you're doing little updates here and there in the brain, it's like just like you said, just thinking it through and what will work and what won't.
Updates in the brain is that might be a banger statement from Doug right there. Deer updates for the brain. It's just like when it pings your phone when you plug it in at night and it's like, oh, software update 16.2 or whatever. You're like, damn, I got to update this stupid thing. And you really need to do that every season for your circumstance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. that conversation right there, Curt, just made me think of that meme where it's like the husband and wife laying in bed and the wife's like, I bet he's thinking about other girls and he's looking at his phone. We can relate. That's me.
That is very accurate, dude. I feel like my wife will catch me like glazed over and I'm just thinking I'm dreaming with my eyes open. Like you're so deep in like a daydream thought that you're like, all right, man, that's because you have to like think about the wind, like you have to like how it cuts through like an area. You're like, all right, if I just hug, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, maybe most people don't at home, but I'm being very vague. All right, for example, that stand that we were gonna hang and didn't get hung and left at the base of the tree because it was a monsoon. We were talking about what winds would work for that stand and what wouldn't. And, really, like you and I kind of like mentally visualized to each other because we couldn't have been, Doug, I'm telling you, when it downpoured on us the other day, you have no idea. It downpoured on us. There's no way. I'm like, oh, we could still hang it. And I get to the tree. I'm like, oh, I'm going to slip and die or get hit by lightning. It was raining like crazy. But we were talking
I like to say something when Lee came over and tried giving me a scrape day, and from the video I saw, I got a half aced scrape day compared to what you got. You got the full treatment.
Well, we crowned scrape day.
What's that, Doug?
I didn't see no dad shoes.
I had them on, didn't I?
I don't think so.
Well, I apologize. Here we are.
So we were gonna hang this stand. It's off this oxbow, and we were talking about how it's gonna work, and it's gonna work for a ton of winds. Like it's gonna be great. And really, when you find a tree that's got like 3 trunks to it,
yeah,
we're gonna end up putting one of them. Oh, cluster, and it's gonna be nice. It's not going to be like, it might not be a high volume stand. Like I probably won't sit it 20 times. Like I'll probably sit it depends really. It depends on my interactions that I have there, but I bet you I sit it less than 10 times this year, but I bet you when I do sit it, it's going to be exciting.
When you get the right wind and stuff, it's going to be money.
Yeah. Cause it's good for any East variant. The way I planned it out, it's good for any East variant. Almost any North variant could work for Northwest. It'd work for Southeast, and that's a lot. That's a lot of winds for a stand, honestly. And it's in a tight spot. It's an internal fringe or edge.
So they're gonna be riding you.
Yeah, I think the deer movement there is going to be great.
It's going to be fun. But if a deer pops out, he's going to be right there.
Yeah.
So Chaboy's excited.
It's one of those spots that you're going to be on your toes. It's like the opposite of sitting a box blind. You know how we talk sometimes, like you and I've talked, Curt, how sometimes we get more lackadaisical when we're sitting in a box blind. That stand's going to be polar opposite. It's going to be like you're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time because you're going to hear stuff, and it's literally, I mean, they're going to pop out at 25 yards. You know, that's going to be a fun stand to sit for sure.
Well, what's cool about that farm, it's so dense that, and there's so many leaves on it, and it's fun because you hear the deer well before you see them. So sitting at last year, you'd hear like that cadence, like that.
Dude,
And you're like,
when you're hunting and that happens, you're just like, oh boy, here we go. You just
you
never know.
Yeah, it's great. And you're like looking, and then you see legs. Then you're like, oh, what is it? You grab it makes each sit more exciting. It's gonna be one of them spots. So
boom, Forky.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, why Buck? Your dog went in on this podcast or what, Doug?
You want to see her? Crazy Daisy. She's joining.
Get Daisy.
I was actually talking to Perry today, getting ready for season. I got that box blind, and I'm gonna have to hunt some kind of winds that don't really work for a spot to kill my number one, I think. So I was working with him talking about like scent proofing blinds even further, and like making it, because you see them talk about where they do hunt a wrong wind every once in a while and they just literally lock themselves in the blind.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Perry today, figuring out like what they do there and how to make them even more scent proof, because I think I could get away with a northwest wind in this spot, but it's skeptical. There's a chance of getting busted, so I'm going to do every precaution I can on that blind to hopefully stick that deer right at 20 yards.
Can you give away any of his secrets, or is it kind of like top secret info?
Hey, you can call Perry. You got his number.
Hard tease. Well, I'll tell you something I'm doing next week. I have a box blind that's at 10 foot at the base, and I'm lowering it. So I'm going to take it from 10 foot, and I'm going to cut probably 5 foot off it. So I'm going to have it at 5 foot. Is that the move? I've been told it is.
Really?
My box blind sits at like right at 6 foot to the base.
How do you like it? You feel low?
Initially I did, because I'd only ever hunted out of blinds that were like 10, 12, 13 foot, 14 foot. So initially I felt low, but the reason I have mine like that is because it's on a trailer. Like, I can't drive it down the road being that high. So I made it short for that purpose. But honestly, when I'm sitting in it, I feel more intimate with the deer, even though I'm, in a blind, being closer to their level, But I do like it. I think the deer, they don't pay attention to it, to me.
Really? So I feel, all right, so being high up in a blind, what I don't like about it is if they're close, you cut out a ton of shooting area. But what I've been told from several people just recently, well, one was Greg Ritz, because he gave us the VIP tour of his farm, everything. And I noticed all his blinds were like 4 foot. And I was like, yo, what gives? What's going on? Like, why are they so short? He goes, that's a sweet spot. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I've tried it all. 10, 9, 8. He's like, I've tried everything. He goes, 4 foot's a sweet spot. He goes, it has to be tall enough where the deer can see under it, because then they're comfortable. And he goes, but not too tall where it doesn't box out your shooting. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Yeah, maybe that is right. So I'm going to lower mine 5 foot. I'm going to go 5 foot. I'm just going to cut it in half. But problem being, my tractor don't reach that high. So I got to borrow a buddy's tractor to lift it up and then take a sawzall and go lop, 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 and then unscrew the supports, lower it. Hopefully it doesn't fall and shatter, and then get it down in the dirt and then lop, lop, cut and put the supports back in. And then I'll have my little 5 foot blind, and it'll be blended in right in my borderline I planted. So wish me luck, huh? We'll see what happens.
Slam dunk, baby. Slam dunk.
What's up, Doug?
So you think you're gonna kill out of that one?
I don't know. I feel good about the plot that I have there. I feel like it will be an attractant. As of now, a lot of things, this moves us on to our next conversation topic. As of now, I don't have a deer that I'm like really wanting to shoot in that spot. I have a deer that I probably would shoot, but I don't have a deer that I'm like, okay, I'm blowing off everything else for this. If that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
but in the next month,
it could change.
like,
Yeah.
when it changed, like Mark mentioned on our regular WCB podcast, when the velvet comes off, the brain cells develop. Just so much changes for me on all the places I hunt in the next 40 days.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's like the intel we collect. I'm not saying it doesn't almost mean anything, but I mean, it's nice to have. But when you know they're going to disappear, it's kind of disheartening. But also, other bucks could move in.
For sure. And that's what I bank on. And that's what normally happens for me. But like you guys both being
the other
what's
way.
up? What's that?
I'm banking the other way. I'm banking the opposite way of you. I'm hoping he
Right.
stays where he needs to be.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, you guys both being Iowa residents, you guys are allowed to supplemental feed. Like, do you feel like supplemental feed keeps a deer in that area, or do you think it's just the same difference? Like, once it probably brings them there in velvet, but once their velvet's off, do you feel like they just dip no matter if the feed's there or not?
Yeah, I think like I do supplemental feed, just like a quick, short little burst in the area. And like a couple of places I hunt, like I've got cameras that I put in a different area to catch the bucks in the summertime that I know are going to be where I hunt in the fall, just from past history of seeing bucks where they go in the summertime. So like where I have my number one buck is not on the property that I'm planning on killing him on, or going to try to kill him on. You know, it's a mile, probably a mile and a quarter to the south. You know, so like, but I know from past history with that deer, especially, that he's going to transition to the farm that I'm going to be hunting him on. And like in Amana, I don't have a lot of that big summer shift. And I think that's because it's big timber. I don't have, my bucks don't move really. I mean, all that big timber around there, I have bucks pretty much all through the year. I mean, that traveler buck that I talked to you about, Curt, he shifts, but it's within like a mile. But for the most part, the bucks that I get in the summer, I have them July, August, all the way through shedding their antlers. I just never, I don't know why, but they just never shift in that big timber, for me at least.
What about you, Doug?
Yeah, for me, it's a little different. In the summer, you know, I'll get all the bucks will come through with supplemental feed and stuff. But I feel like once they lose that velvet, they'll move back to like the big timber that's not where I'm at. So you hope and pray they come through right time, right place. But most of the time, I'd say the big ones don't stick around too much.
Yeah, it's so interesting, man, because I wish I could supplemental feed, but it's like, does that bring false hope for a lot of guys?
I think it does.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, like, we always joked around about this, like Iowa, Illinois. Like I always said, it's like, well, the Illinois boys were typically the ones that kill first. Do you think it's because, and it varies year to year, right? Like, but I wonder if there is something to, like, when we hang our trail cameras, that, like, yeah, I hope you guys kill first. Like, I hope all my buddies kill first. I want everybody to kill early and be successful. But I wonder if, like, some of the Illinois natural movement patterns that we hang and get deer on trail camera, I wonder if that makes a difference versus like a supplemental feed pattern. Like, I wonder if that, like, the equation adds up differently when it comes to like the shot. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't have it. Maybe it's luck. I don't know, but.
So I kind of have a little bit of a theory on that. I do think you guys, how you run cameras in the summer plays a big role into that. I do think it does, you know, because when we do put our even though I only do it for like literally like less than a week, I throw 150-pound bag out in front of my camera just to see what's there, and then I pull it. But I think, you guys get your natural movement, where I think, and Doug, you can kind of talk to me about this. Those bucks that you have shift, do they come back through at the beginning, like late pre-rut, beginning of rut? Do they come back through for you? Have you noticed that in the past? Because when I do have little shifts like that, like in my more open country ground, I do notice that I get one string of them coming through like early pre-rut into the, right into the start of the rut, into their summer area. In the past, I've seen that at least. Have you ever noticed that?
No, yeah, you're right. They'll come in like prime time scrape season, like late October to check around. They'll check scrapes, and then I think prime rut. I mean, you get the right doe, of course they'll be through, but I think they'd come through checking as well. But early October and probably late October, they don't really show up. So that's scrape season is like one of my favorite times, because that's when you really see who's sticking around or who's just coming through.
How long have you guys?
And that's where I think.
Go ahead, Lee.
That's where I think your not using supplemental feed helps you out, Curt. Because on our summer patterns, we get those deer, but then they shift. And that's why I think you guys kill earlier. Because I think where we have our deer on our summer patterns, typically, if I'm going to kill one, it's going to be on that when they come back. If it's on where I had them in the summer, when they come back in late October or November, when they do shift, they disappear except for that week. And I think that could play into the role of like why you guys kill early versus, us.
Agree with that.
Yeah. And it might just be coincidence too. Like there's a very good chance it's just a coincidence, but what you're saying, it does make sense. I'm trying to envision like if I could supplemental feed, how it might change how I perceive who's going to be around. But it's fun. It's fun conversation for sure, because I don't know. I feel like if Illinois was like, all right, supplemental feeding's legal, I feel like I'd go so hard in the paint the first year that it would just like completely screw me up for what I'm used to,
That would actually be interesting if they did, if, all the hunters start putting out supplemental feed, if it would change big bucks patterns throughout the whole year.
Well, I honestly think in Illinois, I would say 60 to 75% of people actually do supplemental feed illegally.
Well,
I don't know if that holds any water at all, but there's a lot of people who don't know it's illegal. Candid. There's a lot of people who just genuinely don't know that it's not allowed, and here's why. Because they sell it at every damn Walmart, Farm King, farm supply store, everywhere. And you know how many people have been doing it forever that have giant 15-foot holes in the dirt that you could fall into from running mineral for that long? They're all over the place, all over Illinois. Do you know how many outfitter Facebook pages I could go to right now based in Illinois and get pictures of big velvet deer standing in the woods for 45 minutes licking their lips? And you think they're just doing it for fun?
Call them out, Curt.
It's all over the place. It is. And it's, I don't know. Is it wrong? Yeah. Yes, it is. It's wrong. It's illegal. But everybody's doing it.
That is where they sell at the stores.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm not condoning it. Don't do it. But I would say 60% of you is doing it. Maybe more. But maybe it's not that much. But I mean, come on. How many are? A lot, probably.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, I had Lee was at one of my hunting spots. There was a hole in the ground that I drove my tractor into, and I'm concerned it could be a natural mineral lick. And I showed Lee, I'm like, should I fill this in? It just showed up, and you think it's an old field tile. And like, I'm paranoid that it could be like a natural mineral lick, and it looks like, but I mean, I don't think anything's, it's just a dirt hole, like size of a 5-gallon bucket.
Which, if it's a natural mineral lick, I don't know how they could get you on that. I mean, if it's a naturally occurring thing, you know.
Any chances? I'm not taking any chances.
Test the soil.
You're doing it right, Curt.
So I'm like, I got to go find some dirt I can scoop and dump it. I'm done. I didn't do this. So, but I just like think about
I plead the fifth.
I played the fifth. But I showed you this. I'm like, I feel like I should fill this random hole in. Like when it first showed up, I'm like, where did this hole come from? It looked like a turtle had been digging in it. I'm like, do snapping turtles dig holes? But like, that's where I was at with it. I'm like, I don't know, what's a natural mineral lick look like? I've seen where like a spring comes out and it's wet, and you can tell deer have been pawing in it. Like, you know, there's some minerals in that, I'm sure. Can you hunt over that in Illinois? Can you hunt over that in Iowa if you have that? Is that legal? I don't know.
Yeah, you can hunt over a natural spring.
That's your spot.
In Iowa, at least I know you can.
Your property?
It's a damn good spot. I got a couple of them that I hunt over.
What'd you say, Doug?
I said, you think Steve's turtle's coming back on your property?
Trying to get me on some game laws? Probably. You know, I don't know if there's any African side neck turtles swimming out in the river, but yeah, it's possible. But I don't know. Yeah, the supplemental feed convo to deer patterns is interesting for sure. You know, I guess if you had enough ground, you wouldn't really worry about the shift. But it's a fun conversation. It's worth bringing up, I think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to a bunch of small parcel people who do, you know, in Iowa, the supplemental feed, and then how successful they are, like with those deer.
Yeah.
You know, on the big parcels, of course, you know, you're just doing inventory. You know, they'll be around.
Right. Yeah. I you know, maybe Eric's a good example of that. Eric hunts a lot of small parcels, and he does. He's got some slammers, and then they kind of seem to do other things, and maybe he catches a glimpse or two of them during season. You know, he might be the shining example of that.
Yeah,
I think
given, you know, like they always he'll say it. They always go to the one property, you know. I think the next property over or two properties over, the big timber, and then he won't see them.
Yeah.
I think your timber makeup or your ground makeup makes a big difference in that too. You know, Eric, where you're talking about for the main part there is, I'd assume, where 9 Lives is, and I mean it's pretty big ag ground there, you know, so it's wide open anyway, so they're going to be moving and cruising, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Something I've like kind of change the subject a little bit. Something I've been focusing more on, and we talk about this on the episode that's coming up here in a couple of weeks with Greg. Edges in general. And you know, I always say deer are fringe animals, and I don't know if they use the term edge. I always said fringe. But like anything internal fringe or internal edge, I think is like a dynamite terrain feature that I feel like might be overlooked. Well, maybe I overlooked it initially. I don't know if you guys ever have, but like when you guys are going to do like a hang and hunt a new spot, is like, are you guys looking for edges, or like what's your main thing that like gets you excited about a spot? And what I mean by edges would be like, we'll just go like an obvious example. A chunk of timber that's got a round pocket of grass and cedars in the middle of it. I'd call that like an internal edge or an internal fringe, or a field edge, or
A transition.
It could be the driveway from a cornfield to a bean field that the farmer drives his combine from one field to another, like something like that. What do you got? Like, what's really getting your, like, what's tripping your trigger, if you will? What's scratching the itch? What's I'm out of analogies.
So like the first time into a timber, is that what you're talking about?
Anywhere. First time anywhere for a hang and hunt. Like where you're like, ooh, this is nice. Like you're feeling real thirsty about a spot. You're like, I gotta be there.
I mean, normally, like when I first step into a piece, I kind of, like everybody, I hunt outside in. my first sit or whatever will be more of a less an observation sit. But if I like go in, like if I scout a piece, and then I'm planning on hunting it later in the year, or if I scout it during shed season.
It's November 5th.
And I'm going stand on my back.
Yep, you're making a
Where
move.
am I going to sit? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, what feature are you looking for? What's making you salivate? Damn it, Lee. Play into my scenario here. You're like,
quit dancing around it, Lee. Play the game.
I'm trying to be too methodical. Sorry.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Lee's like, oh,
what are you, the Biden administration?
I would never do that.
I would never do that.
If
I'm done.
If I'm bombing into a place November 5th, I'm gonna find water, to be honest with you.
Interesting. Okay.
That is interesting, actually. I would be finding from a topo map a nice ridge that would maybe go down to a creek or system or something, but I don't think I'm doing fringes. I think November 5th, you might as well, you got to go all in by that point.
I like them internal, like a pinch point, obviously is the best place you could be November 5th, like with good terrain features on both sides. But dude, when you can sit somewhere and deer are rutting and you got that grassy, cedary, just terrain with all that nasty shit in it with the paths through it, and it's just looking good. Cedars, anything cedary and grassy is a good feeling in November. Is it not?
All I can think about is where I killed my big 8. God, that's just so beautiful. Dude,
yeah, that footage of when you passed it the first time, that is what I love.
Yeah.
That cedary just seems like deer want to walk in circles in it.
Yeah. It's when I don't know, they just believe there's a hot doe in there somewhere 24/7.
Yes. Cedars, grass, the smell of fall.
It's something about like cedars and grass. I don't know what.
Romantic.
It is.
So I get
hot and bothered in there. What's up?
Dude, I'm looking for some does. Where are they at?
I spooked all the deer out.
Right. Well, I learned a tip because I was telling our good buddy Dana Pace about that. I love that terrain, and that's the terrain that he likes to shed hunt in. Grass, find the grass, he always says. And my God, I love cedars. Like I want to just plant cedars. He said something he does. He collects cedar berries and mixes them in bird seed in areas he hunts, and in the off season, he'll put bird feeders out up high, and the birds will eat the cedar berries and naturally plant them throughout the terrain. Now, I don't know how long it takes to grow a cedar tree. I know they grow pretty damn fast, but God, that's romantic, huh?
That's pretty wild.
I say you got 5 years. 5 years till you get something good out of a cedar, if I had to guess.
Yeah, but they probably sprout pretty quick. I just love them. But I have...
Well, I mean, like 5 years till they're big enough to make deer cover is what I meant.
Yeah, which is fast.
Yeah.
I think. And I have a lot of cedars on a place I hunt, and they're just full of cedar berries. I'm always just like thinking about grabbing a bunch and just dispersing them. I know farmers hate cedars because they grow all over, but
yeah. I got one for you guys.
Playing them. Wink. The birds.
I got an ethical question.
Yes.
What would you do? All right, we'll go to Doug first on this one. All right.
Jesus.
You're both gonna answer the same question, Curt. I don't want you to base your answer off of any shape or form what Doug says.
Should I mute my headphones?
You're walking through the timber, and you come across your number one sleeping in a spot that you can sneak up on him. Are you shooting him while he's asleep? Doug.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Hell yeah, Curt. I'm shooting him. Hell yeah, dude. You snooze, you lose, bro. All right, I got another. Let me top you on one.
I caught you lacking.
I caught you lacking, dude. You shouldn't have been sleeping. All right, I will one up you on this ethical question. You're walking through the timber to your stand on an afternoon hunt, and your number 1, your number 2 are locked together in a creek bottom.
Oof.
And you walk up and you have 2 buck tags. Are you shooting them? And they're both healthy. They both just freshly locked. One's not wounded or whatever. What are you doing?
Starting the chainsaw.
Yeah, that's probably the right thing to do, I think.
I'm cutting them apart.
What would you do, Doug?
Yeah, you should probably do that.
No, I didn't ask what you should probably do. I said, what would you do, Doug?
If you look like Legolas over here.
Well, like, what? All right. So, what would you do if you're on public?
I don't know. I guess. Yeah, maybe. But dude, I'm used to that stuff. Like in Illinois, you couldn't get a DNR officer to show up. There isn't any that work in the damn state.
Yeah, no one's coming.
That's a good question. Like it almost lies like ethics kind of gets 180 to a point, depending on the level of like stuck. So like if you walked up on a buck and one was like gonna die and you knew it, or one was dead and you couldn't get them apart, like then I think it's like you have your fair right to like go ahead and harvest the buck and do what you got to do. If
Absolutely.
They're fresh off the rip and you know like they're lively and they are not getting apart, sometimes you might have to shoot one of them to get the other one free.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you always shoot the bigger one, right?
If you're looking, if one's a 130 and one's a 180, you're going to shoot the 130 just because you thought someone on the internet might judge you. You're killing one anyway.
I did the right thing.
Look at me. Give me a medal. Here's the thing I don't care about the internet.
Curt McGirt here for you.
McGirt it up. I think it depends on the scenario, but like if I was in a spot, I'm like, dude, they're not getting apart and this is going to be a big problem for them and I could do something about it now. I think you have to do something.
Yeah, if you're like, you know,
for sure.
You're deep in the timber and you know no one's gonna ever help them out. Like it's not gonna end well for them anyways.
Right. Well, you know, like you could almost shoot one and use that deer's body weight to help you hold the other buck, and then grab the both, and then grab your saw and saw one rack off if that's what it takes to get it free. I mean, that's the problem about it, dude, is like no matter what you do, someone's gonna hate you for it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're gonna be
Absolutely.
a bad. You're a bad guy by the time you find them.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, as soon as you walk on, you might as well be like,
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Might as well get it over with.
Yeah. You know, but then you see those guys that crank them both.
That mount would look awesome, though.
Would be cool.
Have you guys ever found any lockheads?
I never have, actually.
I've never have either.
Have you?
I've got one set of locked heads. Yep.
Big ones?
They were both like mid-40s. The one was a 3-year-old 10, and the one was a 2-year-old like 15-pointer. Gonna be a super freaking mega giant. And I walked in on like, honestly, it would have been such a cool battle to watch. It was where 2 big flat creeks come together, and they were dead right where the creeks meet, in like basically a big shallow sandbar in the water. It'd have been such a cool battle to watch. But yeah, those were 2 that, you know, were kind of unfortunate to find, especially the really young. I mean, he had pencil tines. I mean, he was going to be a freaking slammer, you know, but
it's a shame. Dude, I hunted with a guy growing up. He had a helicopter. He'd fly his helicopter in and out. You see that orb just fly up on screen? He was flying out and found 2 bucks locked together in the middle of a pond. And one was like in the 70s. The other one was like in the high 40s, locked together. And I called DNR, got it out of the middle of the pond, mounted them, did the mount. Mm-hmm. And then the following year was hunting in a stand, gets in the morning. He's like, he said you could smell something dead. Gets down in a ravine and like a washout, 2 locked bucks the following year in a washout.
No way.
Yeah, I don't not as big, but still like good deer. So 2 years in a row. One was postseason, like during shed season, found the other ones that locked in the lake, or pond, whatever. And then the other one was like November, like fresh, like the freshly rotten, like
that's crazy.
Just a bummer, you know. But I hope I don't ever find them locked dead, you know.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to
Dude,
go.
It sucks. I found one once he was rubbing in like a cluster of trees and he got stuck in the tree. And that one almost to me, I think would be even worse than like being locked up because you know that the coyotes just damn near ate him alive, you know. And actually, I went and I got the salvage tag for him and actually cut the tree, and like the tree is in my parents' house with the deer in it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, we went, my dad and I, that day we took the deer out, with the salvage tag. And then I told my dad, I'm like, I'm never going to find something like that again. Let's go back and cut the tree and like put it on a little pedestal. And like my parents have a big opening in their house and it's sitting right in there with the deer shoved back in it the way I found him.
Oh, that's cool.
I never seen that.
It's cool. It's like one of those things like, wow, I really hate that somebody had to find it, but I'm glad that it was me that found it,
Yeah,
that deer was big too. That deer was like 175 inches.
Nature is metal, man.
Nature is metal. It's as metal as Nickelback, and I love that I haven't mentioned one time until right now that I have a Nickelback T-shirt on.
I just thought we were going to mention it that people don't. Like they'll have to find out for themselves.
Oh no, because then I mean, hey, it had to get brought up. But
are you saying you're not a fan, Curt?
Real well.
I'm not saying I don't like Nickelback, and I'm not saying I do like Nickelback.
Dude, Nickelback rocks.
Dude, don't bring a tear to your eye. Oh, hey, did you see that? All right, so Jordan Ginsmer from Pull Back and Let Go. We'll end on this story because I owe an apology. Five Finger Death Punch is not my favorite band, and I'm not a huge Five Finger Death Punch fan in general. I always call them Butt Rock or Dad Rock. The drummer of Five Finger Death Punch, what's his name, Doug?
Charlie.
So Charlie played. Oh, I don't know where he was playing, but
I think Memphis.
Where at?
Memphis.
Oh, okay. So he's just playing a big show down there, and he's wearing a Working Class Bowhunter shirt, the drummer of Five Finger Death Punch, and posted on his story. And Jordan sent it to me. He's wearing like the yellow bad shirt. And I'm like, all right, I'm done talking bad about Five Finger Death Punch. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, this dude knows that I said they're butt rock and still chose to wear our shirt.
That's pretty dope.
I screenshotted it, posted on our story, and I said, I'll never say anything about Five Finger Death Punch again. I tagged him, and he's like, apology accepted, and sent me like the fist bump emoji. And I'm like, all right, I feel pretty bad about it now. It's pretty cool.
What's funny is when I was hanging out with him, he never mentioned anything about it.
Oh, he never did. It's kind of a funny joke. It's like an honest, like, all right, at least I was honest about it and met you in the middle. But my bad, Five Finger Death Punch.
We're gonna have to go to one of his shows now to apologize.
I don't want to do that, but it'd be cool if we were.
Just a public apology right here on Deercast.
I apologize on Instagram too. So, but it's still cool, you know. But
yeah,
no, boys,
pretty cool, man.
This was fun. Yeah, it is cool, right? It's like they're one of the biggest rock bands. What's up? Your dog's just like, let me in on this.
She's saying it's time for bed.
Time for bed. Yeah, no, this is fun. This is a good get the anxiety out before hunting season, get people excited. Some ethical questions got brought up. Good times, boys. Random that we're all doing this online. This is how most podcasts do it. Normally we're in studio.
I don't like this. I like in studio substantially more.
Feels off.
It feels off. It does feel off, but I appreciate you guys doing this. Episode 93, I think, of Working Class on Deercast. Episode 100 is creeping in. Lee is pressuring me pretty hard to do something really cool for episode 100.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, Curt. Maybe we should ask the old listeners here what we think they should, or what they think we should do for episode 100. Give us some ideas.
So the pros and cons of episode 100 of Working Class on Deercast is it launches the first week of deer season here in Iowa and Illinois. So having any big guests in studio is probably not going to happen because everyone's gearing up. But I'm open for ideas. Let us know what you want us to do. Now we do have the idea for episode 600 for Working Class Bowhunter, regular WCB episodes. We have that down. I don't know if I want to give that away yet. What we're doing?
No, not yet.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Lock.
Okay. We're gonna have to reach out to the people for some of that on episode 600, and it's going to be very interesting. So, that being said, thank you, Doug. Thank you, Lee, for doing Working Class on Deercast.
No problem.
We're here for it.
Thanks for us.
Always good to see you guys, even if it is through the dark web. And your dog too, Doug. I'm out. You know what to do. Go shoot a giant. We love you. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys, for supporting us. Peace.